The one particular area that I wanted to dig into, which I thought was going to be quite interesting, is some work that we've recently done with the Metropolitan Health Group, MHG, part of MMI now. And really what they do is they are a health insurer or an administrator, actually. So they act on behalf of funds, of medical funds. So the better that they administer claims and contact center relationships with the customers, the better they can pass on that service to other schemes. So they're kind of like a middleman. So it's not only about keeping the member happy and making sure that your claim is processed quickly, it's also staying within SLAs for the actual funds themselves. And they get penalized if they move outside of those SLAs. And what was quite amazing, actually, there's a new guy, new chief operating officer who's just joined, and he's come from the IT space. So he's very process driven and he knows what technology can do. And so he, is very keen to get things right. And what he said to me, my brief was really when I met him was that they're measuring all these SLAs, and apparently they're doing really well and they're meeting all these SLAs, but yet the complaints are going up and the customers are obviously not happy, and the backlog's going up in their call centers. So he's trying to figure out what is going on. And so that was really my brief. So sort of here's the data, here's the problem. And really what it was, that there was a hang of a lot of just really understanding the business and, the business process. And I think somebody mentioned asking a good business question is really important. Business people don't typically actually ask good questions. So you've got to guide them and kind of coax them along that road. So what I started doing was I just gathered data off the dialer, off various workflow systems that they've got, off the IVR, and trying to piece all of this lot together to try and see what I could see. And, we started looking at things like the lost call rate. So how many people phone, and then after a minute of waiting, you just put the phone down. Things were calls on hold, which was not something that they measured. Now, personally, as a user of a call center, one of the things that really bothers me is when I get put on hold all the time. And it was something that they weren't actually monitoring. And the amount of people, the amount of calls being put on hold was almost 100%. And then we dug a little bit deeper and we realized that's actually part of their training, where they're told that that when you phone and they've got to sort of look something up on the system for you, put that person on hold. Now, personally, I would rather listen to somebody typing and making silly comments than music, because I don't know if that guy's ever going to come back to me. Have they forgotten? Has he gone off for tea? I don't know. So just looking at that, they've changed their process, and the training is actually not to put people on hold unless you really, really have to. I mean, there were some that we found one call was put on hold 20 times. Anyway. Also repeat callers. So, and this was a particular problem that they were having, is that why do people continually phone, the same member phoning many times? Are they having a problem? Or is it just that this particular person's lonely or something and phoning the call center? So that was interesting. Queue wait times, just how long does it take to get things through the queue? And that a lot of it led to actual agent training, because all of their queues lead to different types of teams, different languages, different specialities. So it also helped to see which particular areas of the business needed some training. And also peak staffing levels. So we did some analytics around just what time of the day do most of these problems happen. And there was one particular day where things were really bad, and we could see it was sort of 11 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, nothing particular. Anyway, it just so happened that they had some team get together, and it seems so common, it seems so sort of obvious, but all the agents got up and went to this meeting, and there was nobody left to answer the phones. And you could clearly see it in the data. So we started on call center, and then that went particularly well. And so he said, okay, let's carry on looking a bit further. So we had a look at the correspondence workflow, which is where you fax things in and what happens there. And again, it helped them just to see a much more complete picture of what was going on. Who calls, then faxes, then calls again, then they get transferred, then make a complaint. And so piecing all of these little events together really gave them a much better understanding of what's going on. Having a look at backlog, again, multiple people logging multiple things. And it has helped on their complaints management and just general turnaround times. So, yeah. Just talking to him, I asked him, what did he see as the outcomes? And it was really just getting a visibility. You know, when you are the chief operating officer, you're relying on your supervisors and of your team members to produce various reports. And he knew that some of them were, creatively accounting for some of their measures and sort of showing the good news and not necessarily all the news. But having direct access that he could see exactly what was going on and not sort of, it's not filtered as it goes up the line was a good thing. It's totally automated. We moved from monthly to intraday delivery and on his iPad, so he can quickly show, I think his actual team supervisors don't like me very much because he's forever on their case. It's helped them just with better process design, rerouting of calls, improved team resourcing and training, and also just really understanding much better impacts of external. You can clearly see abandoned rates going up when there's a strike or when there's a transport issue and people can't get to work on time. What was interesting for me, because I'm on a medical aid that if I need my tax certificate, I just go to my computer and I get it, or it just gets emailed to me. And yet some of the schemes that they manage don't have those facilities. And you'll see these massive spikes during the tax year of people phoning, and you go and say, why did you phone, or why did they email? It was just to get a tax certificate. So it's giving them a lot more understanding of what they can automate from a self-service point of view, just to reduce, because they get hundreds of thousands of calls every day. It's huge volumes, because they look after GEMS, which is the big one. And also trying to understand in the workflow process what are the simple and what are the complex tasks, and changing the SLAs depending on the complexity of the task. Because you can't really measure a tax certificate versus somebody who's had maybe a heart transplant, and that's a big claim. So what I see in the whole Internet of Things that relates to us is the ability to connect the systems, the people and the process all together. It's not just about individually doing any of these things. Each of them are very important, but it's connecting those dots. And ultimately, hopefully, they have happier members and happier service providers, because the service providers are the doctors who also complain a lot because they get paid incorrectly or late or whatever. We used in this particular project, because of the customers, what they had. So we used what they had, which was IBM Cognos, and their own database. We work really on any database, whatever the customer has. But really, from a services point of view, one of our big things that we would offer is business analysis, systems analysis, and visualization design. You can have all sorts of software, but if you can't put it together, that's really the key thing. Just a little quote from him, which I thought I'd add. I use the dashboard daily. It adds massive value, and it has given us a very different view on our business. I have been able to give the service consultants info that they've never seen. So it was just a really nice feeling of, okay, we did something good. This is just some examples of what we did. What was quite interesting was just connecting things. So this is just a demographic profile of the different schemes that they have. So you can see pink for girls, blue for boys. And then this is the age band. So you can see some schemes, and what I was looking at is to see, who's phoning. Why do some people phone more? And it was actually interesting to see that the old ladies, the really old, lot older than me, they're phoning a lot. So you kind of wonder why that is. Maybe they need a bit of extra care. Shame. And also just things like top 10. Often in dashboards we summarize things and we have aggregate views of, this and that. But it's also very important to highlight the exceptional things. So for example, I had to blank out the names, but these are service providers with the most open workflows or issues. This is one particular service provider, happens to be a pathologist, so it's quite a lot. 300 and something open requests that they've got. So that's just crazy. One other one that we did, which isn't on the slide, was just looking at their backlog. And it was almost looking at it in an aging fashion, because you can be going through and you can be able to kind of do all of your work on the here and now, but are you addressing that big backlog that you're kind of carrying like baggage? And anyway, we showed them that they're not. So just my last slide. So we've got lots of information. Lots. What we're really wanting is to connect those dots, but what we ultimately want is the wisdom to know which one of those things to actually focus on. And so really, that's the end of me. Thank you.
Thank you so
Cool.
much, Jill.